we'll allow the board to make that decision. So, I'm hoping that you had a chance to review it. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have on, especially the scope or the timeline.
And how are we, I mean, there's no fiscal note on it.
No, there is no fiscal note on it.
Why?
The fiscal note would be attached once we would get the cost estimates.
I know, but it's not budgeted.
It's in the budget.
It's in the budget for 30,000.
I thought we took it out of the budget, that was the whole problem.
I think it's on the list.
Is it on the
It's-
budget?
Oh, it's on next year's budget,
Yeah.
you're saying.
Is it on
For
the
2020, so we would start the RFP process now, so that in time, January, we can make a decision, and they
Oh,
can
it's
start
on
in
for-
early
it's
January
on
for
for next
2020,
year, yeah.
correct?
Okay, alright, so, okay, I had questions on the
It's on the
tasks.
list.
Yeah, it's on the list.
Is it?
Yeah, everything from there was the facility analysis, the organizational,
Oh,
we
yeah.
put, remember, we put everything, the comprehensive plan.
So, and we timed this out so that on the budget wrap-up, if somebody's gonna have for you as a board, if you take this off, like, it no longer is a priority, we would not take this to full board then on the 21st. Does that make sense? Because we're really trying to time it where we can get, a decision made by the early part of the year, because it's gonna take quite a few months for this study to be completed. And we want the analysis to be done by June, July, so you get that report, so then you can take the recommendations and start making budgetary decisions for the 2021 budget. If we wait too long, you don't have enough time to complete the study, and then you can't consider that for the 2021 budget, which would delay all the implementation for a whole nother year. So yeah, we gotta think really strategically.
One thing I had in the scope was, C, research other comparable municipalities, learning about services, staffing levels, work environment, and compensation. I think we also need to include in that, neighboring municipalities and opportunities for service sharing.
So not just comparable, but neighbor.
And maybe
neighbor-
it needs
so
to be
like-
a separate bullet, because, we may wanna look at Greendale to see what their staffing levels are, but we're not gonna share services with Greendale. But we might with, Glendale or Whitefish Bay.
Okay,
Glendale isn't really a comparable municipality to us, I don't think, but, there might be, or Milwaukee, we have shared services with Milwaukee, but they're not really comparable to us.
I could do that.
So, and then the other one I had, the community survey and data related to DPW services and other services, the issues I have with the community survey is it is not a representative, I don't feel it's representative. I mean, it's, and when you look at the people who filled out the survey, it's definitely a particular slice. So I would just, I always feel like I'm interested in the community survey, but I take it with a grain of salt, a big grain of salt. And so, for example, other data on DPW, I would say I would like to see all the calls that have come, all the complaints that have come into DPW over the year. I don't know if they even record that.
I don't think it's recorded. I've
Okay,
never
well, that
seen
would be a
such a
really good
report.
source of data, like,
Yeah.
my garbage wasn't picked up, that something happened, or what, okay, but now we don't have that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's,
There's no log or anything.
I don't think she tracks the type of calls she gets in. I've never seen such a report. I will inquire, but
well, maybe,
About success, I mean,
I'm
people
not
call
familiar
a
with such a
compliment
report.
or don't have
Sure,
a
whatever.
or
problem.
like Terry or Ann, are they tracking what kind of calls come in at customer service here?
No.
Yeah.
Do they?
So, but with
but
your
I mean-
comment about the community survey, do you want me to articulate that differently? Do you want me to remove that bullet point? How would you like me to address that concern?
Okay, I'm sure people send emails to Leanne about, hey, Leanne, this happened, or I'm upset. Cause people email me all the time
Mhm.
about stuff that they don't like, or that they feel DPW didn't do well, or they post on social media about stuff. So, we do have other sources of feedback, community feedback on services. So I just want other sources of feedback to be considered besides just the community survey.
Okay. I know one was, like like one-on-one or interviews with staff. So I don't know if that would suffice in your mind at all as far as like Monica, definitely the DPW admin assistant would definitely be someone that we would interview. And she could probably, she's been there for such a long time, I'm sure she could summarize some of the trends that she sees on the phone. I know that's more qualitative than quantitative data, but I mean, do you think that would suffice at some of the points that you're making?
Well, I mean, a big part of this, especially with DPW, is gonna be like, how people value particular services, like, having the line striping done. How important is that to people? How important is leaf collection to people? How important is snow removal within 24 hours to people, or would within 36 hours be? So, I mean, as we're making decisions about how to possibly change how DPW is doing business, I mean, I would like to have a sense of, what are the types of services people value more than others, and I wouldn't rely entirely on the community survey for that.
It's a piece of information, no? I mean, it's one data.
Exactly,
one
exactly,
data.
but I would like to have others.
Or like a community, would you want them to set up a community forum to be able to allow the public to come to just be able to weigh in on how they feel about certain services in general? I mean, is that another way that you would like them to collect some data?
Yeah, I mean, public input isn't part of the scope. I don't know, I mean, even if we just had, an online survey that people could do, but we promoted that, enough so people knew about it, or.
I also sort of wonder, we're targeting professional and human resource people. And I sort of wonder, I feel your point or sentiment about the survey, and that it is, a pretty specific, subset of the community. And I would like to hear from other people than just the, couple, I shouldn't say couple, but, small quantity of people who completed the survey. But could this vendor provide us with a way to do that? They would have done this in the past, so how do they get that information from residents? And how have they seen that work, where we could, is it an online forum, is it, is it an in-person workshop or, meeting? I don't know, but, we're looking to professionals to do that and to facilitate that, so maybe they can.
I could always add that inquiry under the approach, just to ask, for other similar studies, how have you done that?
Yeah,
And then I could create a line under the scope that just kind of talks about, I could just keep it general, like other, other data points or something like that, so we're just not relying on one resource as the way of getting feedback on a certain service. And I think that's kind of to your point, isn't it?
Maybe we don't put it on this consultant to do that, I mean, maybe we do our own, maybe we do that separately, or on our own communication efforts, cause it's sort of a different ball of wax than what we're asking this
right, I
consultant
mean,
to do.
that's sort of, well, and that was sort of my next question, was like, how is that related to the organizational analysis?
Yeah.
Like, what people think of services is not really
Right.
an organizational analysis.
Right.
And so if we're paying a vendor to do that, shouldn't we be paying them to use their skills and knowledge of building the best organization that we could have? Not that information isn't important, but, and I wonder too, if we did a survey about services, how different the makeup would be, that would actually complete the survey. It might be the same.
Let me list it under the
600
approach,
people or
and I mean, that's the beauty of an RFP, is to see what kind of responses we
Yeah.
get, and, as you mentioned, they've done similar type of studies, so, you know, they're gonna learn from their experiences what worked well and what didn't.
And I'm trying to grapple with, I mean, there's 30,000 allocated to this. And, I mean, I think in 2010 or 2009, we just focused on DPW to do this analysis of their operations, their staff, you know. And that was pretty technical. And I'm just thinking for the library, you need a library to really understand your operations and
Yeah.
stuff. Who is the vendor that I mean, is this a bunch of retired municipal village managers and stuff? Who's got the
Yeah,
cross? I mean,
Some of them
what
are.
yeah, I mean,
like Public Administration Associates, I mean, that's like a group, for instance, that, yeah, I mean, they're the group that kind of offer some interim professional services,
right.
but they also do different organizational studies. So, yeah, there's about, I know on the top of my head, there's 4 or 5, and I haven't even done I haven't even surveyed other professionals in the Wisconsin area, so I'm gonna get more.
Right.
But that's what they do, and they go from project to project. GovHR, who provided Lee
Okay.
Zaborski to do our recruitment for the
Right.
village manager, yeah, they have some staff that will do these kind of
Research.
analysis. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they go kind of from project
Right.
to project,
Yeah,
and
'cause
so that's who would do this.
okay, cause I would see them pulling the research together and doing their best practices and stuff, and I guess some suggested changes, but I'd see it would be on the board. If we're gonna go out to the community and say, oh, we're gonna not pick up your garbage every other week, I mean, I don't think we want them out there making maybe that could be part of how would be a change process based on
Thank you.
your suggestions or make suggestions on the change process, but I see this as a first step in just gathering information I mean, changes in service is a big deal. A huge deal,
And-
especially in Shorewood.
Yeah, one of the things I think that I would look to do is once we finalize an agreement with someone, one of the first things we would do is schedule some kind of cow with the board
Right.
and the selected consultant to kind of put together a timeline of how they would go about expanding on the scope a little bit, but allow you as a board to provide direct feedback before they proceed.
Right.
So that, yeah, there's certain specifics in DPW or the different departments that they were to do research on, that you can be specific
Right.
and if there's certain things you want them to stay off or to not expand on, you can provide that feedback.
Does this address looking at opportunities for contracting somewhere? Is that one of the?
Yes, that'd be one of the things they would be looking at, contracting out certain services, yeah.
Right.
I wasn't sure about including SRC in there. I mean, it's 1.35 people and it's pretty discreet, I mean, I'm just not sure that we have any interest in messing with them in any way, so what was your thinking in including them?
It's an area that us as a village as a whole, from an organizational structure, I don't know if we've focused a lot of our time on. I think because the area is smaller, I don't know if doing the research, I think, will be a little bit quicker to do, so I don't think it'd be as costly. And a lot of times, Elizabeth is looking for some additional support, and we're trying to look to see, are there different ways of providing that support. I think she feels that she, at times needs some additional staffing, and we don't know what other senior resource centers have for staffing. So I think, getting the data would help support that. They did their strategic plan, and a lot of their items in the strategic plan would need some more, people assistance, whether it's volunteers or actual staff. But, I think if we were to go about those strategic initiatives, we would have to get a better idea of some structure of some other senior centers.
But I,
So
my
that's the
understanding,
logic.
my understanding is that we are the only ones in the North Shore who have this kind of a senior center. That we're the only ones who do this sort of program.
Yeah, so we'd be looking more throughout the state and their models. I mean, we could definitely take them out and just know how we do the pricing. We have it by department, so we will know specifically how much
Pull it
it'll
out if
cost.
you don't want it.
Right, so we would know exactly how
Yeah.
much it would cost to do SRC. You could always pull them out.
But-
But if you wanna pull them out now, if it's not as high of a priority as some other areas, I mean, we can,
Well, I mean, I
do
think that the thinking on this, and what we talked about at the last budget meeting was we can't continue to expect 1% levy increases without considering, how we are packaging public services. We're gonna have to make some, if we wanna continue with lower levy increases we have. So, I mean, we're not really thinking about ways to add staffing,
right,
so that's,
But it'd be cuttings, I mean, you're gonna cut senior resource.
no, we're not, that's why I'm saying.
Well, it might be
why
helpful
should-
to have the data then if we know what other communities are providing, I don't know.
But if we're not thinking about cutting and we're not
Right.
thinking about adding, then why?
Why look at it?
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think it doesn't hurt to leave it in the RFP, just because we can remove it and, sort of decide, I mean, I'm totally making this number up, but let's say it's $15,000, and, is that really worth it for us? Kind of to your point, we're not looking to add staff to that position. But, I think it's worth at least understanding what the cost would be to have that analysis of that particular area, and if we decide not to move forward with it for that, kind of for what trustee Menta's reasoning is, I think at that point we could have